Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to yet another Lunch and Learn here at ACREW. Today we're doing a special one, because today we're joined by Marcela, Gabi, and Edwards, because we're talking about starting your own business. It's like normally we always talk about things that happen on the vessels and how you can improve and how you can become better at what you do. But today we're going to talk about if you have an idea about what to do after yachting, this is a must-do webinar. So Gabi, thank you so much for joining us. She's the founder of Yachting Ventures. Got Marcela with us and Edward. But let me introduce them formally, because I prepared a nice little presentation for that. As you can see today, we're going to talk about the tips and tricks on how to start your own business, and we're doing that together with Gabi. And Gabi is the founder of Yachting Ventures. And Gabi, you've got a big background in yachting, don't you? You've done. I've met you first when you were a broker.
Yeah. So I originally worked as a stewardess for a while. I did a couple of seasons, and then graduated university, and then became a charter broker for a couple of years. That was really fun, but ultimately left the industry, joined a startup in London. And now I founded Yachting Ventures to kind of combine those two experiences of yachting and the kind of startup environment that I've come to learn.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here. And with you is one of your mentors, Edward. And Edward, you founded Jim Marine.
Yes, I did.
You also have a yachting background and a huge one.
Yeah, I did. I spent a number of years traveling around the world as crew, very experienced with a chamois and all the various other tools of the trade. I stepped ashore in 2014 and decided to start Jim Marine while on the dock in Imperia. And ever since then, we've been busy outfitting new builds and refit projects with amazing gyms and spas.
Good. Well, thank you for being with us as well, Edward.
Yeah.
And then Marcela's joined as well. Marcela's a bit in a situation because she's outside of a hotel room in Germany because she had to go there last minute. So her connection is not ideal to give her, but she's a business development consultant who knows everything about marketing and sales. But what's your background, Marcela?
So I am mainly in land base of yachting. So I've been a supplier to the industry, and then I've been into yacht management, and then I was representing ICON Yachts, the shipyard in the Netherlands, for the past 5 years. And I'm a business consultant in the marine industry, and I am currently representing a new concept called Genoa Super Yacht Hub. And I've seen the industry from different perspectives. I founded Young Professionals in Yachting in Monaco, and I'm currently writing the first book about the super yacht industry. So I like to share my insights from the land-based point of view, entrepreneurship, business development, and strategy.
Fantastic. And I am actually joining this webinar a bit today because Gabi has kindly asked me to be one of the mentors. So I'll be popping in. So I am moderating from an ACREW perspective, but when I'm needed, I'll share a bit of my knowledge. But I'm pretty sure that Gabi and Marcela and Edwards will do an excellent job. As always, we're recording this webinar, so you can look it back afterwards to get all the tips and tricks out of there. Please feel free to get into the chat with us with there will be questions asked, and then just all these great ideas. You don't have to share all your ideas because you never know we walk away with them. But it's if you got any questions, anything that you want to know, this is the moment. And Gabi, I'll start your presentation and leave you to it. Here we go.
Okay, great. So yeah, essentially, I thought it'd be interesting just to chat a little bit about what a startup actually is, because what's the difference between a startup and a small company? There isn't much of a difference, really. A startup is essentially a company which has the potential to scale. So it's got quite high growth, and obviously investors like it for that reason. We thought it'd also be interesting now just to start the webinar with a quick poll, or a quick, some questions on who has actually thought about or is thinking about starting a company or a startup in the yachting space. And if you haven't yet done that, and if you haven't yet made the move, what are the reasons why you haven't yet, made that decision? Is it lack of time, lack of resources, education, money, family commitments? Like, what are the main reasons or the main kind of sticking points as to why that hasn't happened yet?
So everybody, if you want to just pop your response into the chat, I know we'll just wait a few seconds for the first responses to come in. I can tell what kept me from doing my startup like a long time ago, because like you just caught up in the day, right? You got your job and you've got this dream of doing it, and you just don't get to it, right? You just get stuck in what you're already doing. So let's see what everybody says. Like, I've just got some answers in the chat. So I think the first ones are typing at the moment. So Edward, what happened with you in Imperia?
Well, I was in a bit of a unique situation. I was working on a 45-meter Heason, and we were in the Caribbean, and unfortunately we were in a fairly significant accident in which we were dropped by a crane while being lifted onto a Dock Express style boat. So after that, we put a 5-meter hole in the keel, and the boat was taken back to Genoa for 9 months. And during that point, the captain was very kind. He said, "We're going to keep you on, but you can learn an instrument or learn the language, start a business." And I thought, well, I'll have a crack at that. And 9 months later, we were on the dock in Imperia, and I sold my first rowing machine, although it transpired we lost 17 quid. So, but I think that what I was lucky to have had that time, I guess, to prepare to start the company, and very much encouraged by my peers and other people in the industry who supported me moving forwards.
Good. So I see that Tom says it's mainly lack of time, and Hannah says would love to start my own business, but I don't know how or where to start. So I think that's a nice little start for you to get going, Gabby.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're like the common, responses that we hear regularly. Okay, Anna, if we could go to the second slide. Okay, cool. So I thought initially we'd have a quick chat about getting started with your idea. So coming up with your idea. Marcela, did you have something to add there?
Yes, sorry. I just got a message from a captain saying, "This is infuriating. I am logged into a crew. It says that I'm registered, but there is no link to join the webinar." So and then I got another message of somebody else saying that they're trying to join.
Anna, do we have any complications on your end, or
can you send me the link again and I'll try to resend it? Can you type it here in the comments?
Anna, do you have the link to hand by any chance? Okay,
I'll get the link to you, Marcela, right now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, but there's people wanting to join.
Yeah, of course. Cool. So yeah, let's have a quick chat about this. So generating your ideas. So what is your startup idea? Basically, there's quite a well-known 3-step process to this. So it's identifying a problem, and the best problems are the ones that the entrepreneurs themselves have. So in your day-to-day life, like, where is a pain point? Like, where is a frustration, a problem that you feel you could provide a solution? And it's really interesting because obviously everyone has had their own unique set of experiences. And so you can then bring that unique insight to the problem and then obviously develop a solution. So Ed actually has quite an interesting example to share with you on this, because he obviously identified a problem and came up with a solution. So if we could just move to the next slide, Onno. And Ed.
They almost make me wince when I look at those at the moment, Gabby, to be honest. When I was on board a 55-meter fed ship as a deckhand, I was mostly in charge of very little, mainly these dumbbells. Now, the boss didn't really like rust on his dumbbells, as I'm sure you can imagine. So every evening as the junior deckhand, I was sent up to the sun deck to polish these with various products, flits, wet polish, dry polish, everything. And of course, these dumbbells did not like the polish. They were chrome-plated mild steel. And as we went at it with the flits, we were taking off the thin 2-micron layer of chrome and exposing the mild steel underneath. So I would polish these things in the dead of the night. I'd wrap them in cling film. I'd put them in a sealed locker, and I'd come down the following morning and they would be completely orange again. And it was during those evenings of sitting up there on the Sunday, I think to myself, there must be a better dumbbell out there made of 316 stainless or wrapped in rubber or something that's a bit more suited to the yachting industry. And I guess that was kind of my light bulb moment for starting Jim Marine. There was another incident actually as well, where we were in the shipyard next door to a large Aberking yacht, and they had some cardio equipment on the sun deck, which was wrapped in what looked like stainless steel, but it's actually polished aluminium. And similarly, that would rust every season, and the owner would have to replace the cardio equipment every single season at a humongous cost. And again, we can understand why they weren't wrapping it in vinyl or choosing something that was better suited for the maritime environment. So it's just those things where you're on board, where you feel like things could be done better. If you can find a way to exploit that or come up with a unique way of working on board, which perhaps no one else has, that's a really good place to start and take your idea forwards commercially.
Yeah, exactly. And Ono, if we just skip to the next slide, we've got Ed's solution.
Yeah, these are our latest, what we call our Diabolo dumbbells, which we have at Jim Marine. And these have been designed really specifically for yachting use. And they're sort of the synthesis of about 5 or 6 years of the business being in process. So we've got teak or walnut handles. We've got 316 marine grade stainless steel ends, which you can polish till your hearts are content. And they've got a convex end, which allows them to stand vertically and not roll around during use, but also protect the branded end plate from being scratched. And that can be branded with the yacht's logo. So we think that these are now the most perfect dumbbells in the world for super yachts. And that is all something that stems from that original experience of sitting upstairs with my flits.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially from a yacht crew perspective, you know, a lot of people in the yachting industry do have a background, and they may have university degrees. Like, it's also a matter of being able to combine that previous experience with, you know, your most recent experience on board, and be able to identify those kind of insights that others, you know, might not have. And if the problem's growing, that's always good, because it just means there's always going to be more of a market for your solution. And
you definitely don't have to have a university degree, because I'm completely uneducated.
Yeah.
So that's not a prerequisite to entrepreneurship at all.
For sure. Okay, Anu, I think we're ready for the next slide. Cool. Okay, so once you've gone through the process of identifying your problem, you've kind of got a solution that you think might work, the next step is to start validating your idea. So when we talk about validating your idea, it's basically going out and chatting with potential customers. So those people that might want to buy your product. So ask them, you know, what they think about the product. Would they buy it? How much would they pay for it? Are they currently using any other solutions which is similar? Who are your competitors? Basically just using your network to validate your idea. And then once you have, you know, got the confidence to go ahead and potentially build your first product, or a minimum viable product, as the language they use in kind of startup world, but something that you can showcase basically. And based on feedback, it's obviously also important to include that don't be scared to pivot. So if you come up with an MVP and your beta users start testing it out, and they give you feedback, be prepared to change the business model, change the product concept slightly, in order to make sure that you're actually delivering what your customers want. There's no point building something that your customers don't need or don't want or aren't going to pay for. So yeah, just a slight note to always make sure that you're flexible, basically, especially in the early stages. Marcela or Ed, have you got anything else to kind of add there? Or
yeah, I think that most of the ideas, what I've seen, so my husband works as an investor in startups, so we've seen it all. And what happens is that a lot of the times your idea evolves. So then you start with something, but then you find something else, and then you know, maybe you change it to the economics or to the design or to the needs, you know. So also you have to be open-minded and flexible, because, you know, your idea keeps on getting better, but then, you know, as time evolves, then what you started and what it is, it can be completely different. But you need a lot of, like, you know, of process, different, it's like the thought of change, of the chain thought. and you get input from investors, you get input from clients. So yeah, just know that, you know, maybe your final product or your final services will be completely different of what you started, but this is the beauty of it, is that, you know, it starts and it just keeps on evolving and changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. I think we're good for the next slide on it.
Yes, if I may add something to this, like look what we're doing today. We're doing a webinar, and that's all because of COVID. So everybody needs to evolve and adapt to the situation, because normally we will be like meeting each other somewhere at one event or in a beautiful place. So I completely agree. So it's like, keep pivoting.
And we, for our business, pivoting is so important. And I think that one of the things you have to be really careful of is getting too attached to an idea. As an entrepreneur, you can get really hung up on a plan, and then when you put it out to the wider world and your customers and your business partners,
I think
if they don't think it's necessarily such a good idea, you have to be prepared to let go of it and try something else.
Yeah. Well, Thomas is responding in the chat saying, true. So far, I've experienced myself how important flexibility is. So Thomas, thank you for that comment.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a dangerous one, because I always say be careful with comments, because a lot of people will throw a lot of comments, especially at the beginning when you're starting, a lot of negative comments. No, that wouldn't work. Somebody else did it and it didn't work. You know, you get all of this like judgments and opinions, and just don't, you know, like if you know what you're doing, just focus on your end vision. And then be careful what advice you take from and from who, because there's a lot of people out there that as soon as you say an idea, they just go and they kill it, you know, just because they want to prove that, you know, they know better and that you're wrong. So it's very important to take opinions with a pinch of salt, but take opinions from mentors, investors, clients, you know, in a way that it would adapt, but don't let them kill your mojo, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, I mean, the next slide is all about the next stages. So you've got your product, you've validated it, it's something that people want, and now you're like going to market. And so, I was actually thinking, given your background in marketing, that you might be able to, you know, share a few words on branding and the importance of branding, tone of voice, value proposition, you know, making sure that when you do go to market, you're communicating clearly that you're innovative and you've got a new product and you're going to change the way things have always been done, and you know, add value essentially.
Yeah, I think like what I always try to say is like, you have to get your claim to fame, and that's something that you have to claim in the beginning. That's the moment that you're gonna like, don't be modest, because modesty doesn't get you anywhere at that point, because then someone else might come 2 years later and put in that claim, and although you have all prepared everything and you're the one who made it happen, there's no claim to fame. So try to get your claim to fame in straight from the beginning. Go for it. Be the one. And that also in your branding. There is a huge importance of a good logo. There's huge importance of a good branding guideline, so that you know exactly what font am I using, what logo I'm using, what's the tone of voice that fits with my audience. All those things are highly important. Don't go and pitch your product until you've got that done, because you're gonna miss out, because you only have a first chance to impress. So claim to fame, make sure you're branded well, get advice from people who know what they're talking about. And it's not about how cool a logo looks, it's not about how cool your name is. It's about what you feel with it and that you believe in it. I mean, Edwards called this company Jim Marine. I mean, if we would have talked about it, like when did we start, how many years ago, Edward?
2014.
If we had the conversation then, a lot of people told him, well, Jim Marine, is that not a bit cheesy? Are you sure that's the name? But he believed in it. And with his name, he had a claim to fame. I am the Jim for the marine sector.
Yeah, and interestingly, later on, as we've diversified and our biggest growth opportunities now, having well established ourselves as the leading and only gym equipment design firm for the marine industry, we're now picking up a lot of work on land, and we're having to go through a bit of a reinvention of ourselves because we are approaching land-based interior designers and project management companies, and some of them just can't get their head round Jim Marine. So we've rebranded now as Jim Marine Yachts and Interiors, and we've created a whole brand story and value proposition around our heritage in yachting and how easily transferable it is to the land-based sector. And that's such an important thing, I think, is being able to tell a story and being able to put down really simply who you are and what you do.
Exactly. And also use who you are. Be proud of yourself. You've come up with the idea because you've experienced something. You've seen something, experienced something, done something, and you know that firsthand, it's all firsthand that you're doing. So use that experience and don't be afraid. And also in branding marketing, don't be afraid to be the face of the company. Don't hide yourself. The people buy from people.
Yeah, and the great thing is about design and marketing and stuff. It's so creative, and it's never been easier. There's some great tools out there for website building, like Wix and Canva for generating social content, and it really is well, it's creative and it's a great way to use your energy, but also it's not difficult. It's made a lot easier now through resources and software that's out there. Marcela, did you?
Yeah, definitely. Like when you create your brand guidelines, and I think what is important is to where do you want to be, and then imagine that and create it about it, everything around it, and then once you have it, then you already start acting as it, So you have to, select your colors carefully. There is a lot about color psychology. What is the message that you want to find? The typography, but I think doing the proper branding at the beginning will get you there, because then you imagine that that's who I am already,
Yeah.
So then you start, acting towards it. So I think like getting your branding and your marketing started is an essential, doing all of your stationery, your email address, your email signature, your stationery. And then once you have it all, you already start believing it, okay, I'm a successful company. I'm this, and then, your pitch, because you only have 1 minute to pitch and say what you do, right? So you have to put all of your value proposition in 1 minute pitch. So I think once you have your branding and your values, your tone of voice, your colors, your vision, your mission, your goals and objectives, that already, you're already so far ahead, because a lot of people just start, they say they have an idea, but they don't really know where they want to go. They know where they want to go, but they don't have a plan. So I think having like kind of like milestones and like break it down, and the power of visualization as well, because once you visualize it, then you're just attracting towards and you're getting to it. But you have to have images, renders, brochures. You have to create it as if it's the most amazing company you are creating. How would it look like? How do you, if you would be the owner of this company, how would that person look like? How would that person behave? Because it's also very important about your personal branding, like your personal image. It's also very important, your reputation, how you, come up of yourself. And then because this is going to become your life, your work is going to become your life. And then there's going to be a blurred line between your personal life and your business life, because you're doing, this as coming from your passion. So you need to have this really, really clarified. And I think the branding guideline gives you the kickstart.
If I just, from a chat comment, Eduardo says, in my city and region, there are already a lot of big industries, so I'm scared to be just a little fish in a sea of sharks. My only comment would be, never be scared.
Yeah, trust yourself.
Go for it.
There's a quote that I love, and they say, if you think you're too small to make a difference, think about the mosquito when you're trying to sleep, it's like you cannot sleep at night because there's a mosquito in your ear biting you, so even if you are too small, it doesn't matter, you can still make a big difference.
Yeah. And then the other 2 points on this slide are just around launch. So, I mean, if you're in the process of mapping out, the idea and stuff, it's even worth just building a landing page, having people sign up on a waiting list or subscribe, and then, they're your first users. And that's also kind of really good for building your confidence, because you know that people are interested and they want to hear more about what's going on. And then obviously when you do actually launch properly, it's worth reaching out to all the media outlets which are in the super yacht industry. Obviously, there's also a lot of word of mouth which goes on in this industry, which is great. And it kind of links back to the reputation element that Marcela mentioned. Ed, do you want to just quickly mention your experience with the launch and kind of the support that you received from the industry? And
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think to start off with, the first positive step in the right direction for once you've got a great idea and you're convinced about it and you've spoken to a few people and you want to go ahead with it, you do need to pretty much straight away, as Gabby said, put something physical into place that you can direct people to. And whether that is simply a Facebook page or a landing page, one-page website on Wix, I think that having that first piece of tangible online business real estate is so important. And in a practical example for us, the first thing I did while I was still working on board as crew was set up a one-page landing page, which I think I used Wix or WordPress for, and we had a Facebook page as well. And I sort of poured down all of my plans and ideas really there, and put some nice pictures, which I found on Google, of gyms and gym equipment. And then I had something which I could send people to when I was talking about the business. And what ended up happening in the end was we were contacted by Boat International, and a very forward-thinking marketing person there came to me and said, look, we've stumbled across your Facebook page. We absolutely love the idea. We think it's great, and we want to support young businesses in the industry. And they supported us with a huge package of advertising and some tickets to the Monaco Yacht Show. And that was what really gave us such a huge start in the industry. And it's worked out well for them because we're now a big Boat International advertiser. So people helping people. But and that all really just kicks off with Gabby's point. You've got to get yourself out there, put something down, and use that as a springboard to help you get around the shows, the media companies and the businesses. We've now got our own media company as well called Super Yacht Content, which we use as an opportunity to promote Jim Marine, but we also offer opportunities for other startup businesses to advertise with us and get a foothold in the market. So I can not tell you enough the value of building relationships with media companies as you're starting up, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So yeah, the last point here is around business development. So it kind of links back to everything we've been chatting about, and sales, that, all about kind of chatting to anyone and everyone at the beginning, building the top of your sales funnel. Marcela, I know this is your kind of speciality. So do you just want to say a few words on kind of business development and your tips and tricks?
Yeah. So I think you need to start with understanding who your clients are, because they are different clients. It can be, I don't know, captains or crew or owners or managers, or I don't know who your clients are, but you have to segmentate them and then understand it. Okay, what are their lifestyle? What do they like? What don't they like? You create this persona, right? And then how are you going to reach them? Because, the way you reach a broker might be different, the way you reach a captain, the way, so then you have to understand that's this persona. You do your market segmentations, you do your client analysis, and then you do a proper strategy per client segmentation, And I think like this gets overseen many times. Everybody just thinks like, oh yeah, I just want to sell, okay, but you really need to understand who your clients are. And then you have to have a really good corporate strategy, because what is branding? Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So what is the message that you're coming across? Everything needs to be engineered. Your pitch needs to be engineered. The way you talk, your emails, your everything. You need to really nail it from the beginning so that you have that positioning. Then you have to do a competitor analysis. What are your competitors? What are they doing? What are your differences? Then you need to do a SWOT analysis. Okay, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses, your threats, your opportunities? These are all like strategy techniques that you have to do from the beginning, so that you are aware, so that you are powerful. You understand your competition truly. You analyze one by one. And it's not all about price. It's not all about quality. I hear so many companies and people always talking about price and quality. And it's just, that's so, you're not bringing any value there. So I think yeah, having a good strategy, market segmentation, and client, and also internally. So, if you have a team or if you're working inside a company, you need to make sure that, you have the right people, and then that you're all singing the same song. So, for example, if you're working, if it's a captain working with a designer, what is the designer saying? It has to be saying the same thing as what you're saying. So having kind of like an alignment on the message that you're sending through. And I think people always like think that this is very obvious, and then this is where the problem starts. It's like a lot of these things sound so obvious that people overlook at them, and they are, this is what it will make you successful. Just like it's all in the detail. Mastering and engineering everything in the detail.
Exactly. There's a question from Hannah, if I may interrupt for a second. She's saying, do you think it's possible to start your business and do your website, social media, etc., all by yourself while still working as a full-time active crew on board?
Well, I mean, Ed probably knows a little bit more about that, having launched a business as a crew member. But, just from my own personal experience, I mean, it will also depend on how many hours you're working. I mean, if you're on charter non-stop, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. If you're working 9 to 5 with the weekends off, obviously, then it becomes a lot easier. Building a website, it's really quite easy. Like it takes, maybe a couple of hours just to get a basic landing page going. Same as social media, you can kind of run it around your schedule. There's loads of like scheduling tools you can use and stuff to send out posts if you're not going to be actively available and able to send out posts as and when you want to. But yeah, I mean, Ed, what do you think? I mean, I know your experience is a little different.
I think it really depends, Gabby, on what stage you're at of your career on the boat. I think if you're planning on launching a business, I think when I did it, I thought that Gym Marine was going to be something that I did round the crew mess table, almost moonlighting. But in reality, pretty much from the outset, the early traction that we had and the it became very all-consuming, and that's when I actually decided quite early on to leave yachting and go back home and work from my dad's garage, like many people, like Steve Jobs. But I think if you're serious about starting the company, and you might want to put some money aside and find a web developer to help you develop a website. And additionally, depending on what stage in your career on the boat you're at, perhaps you're a rotational crew member, and you can utilize that time when you're going home to do the legwork and you start to get the website and the marketing in place and things like that, and then go back to the boat and put it on ice for a few months and just leave it to tick over. And that's a really good way, I think, of building a company if you're not ready to make the leap immediately off the boat onto land. I mean, I think if you're not a rotational crew member and you're on a very busy charter boat working incredibly long hours and things, it is going to be quite challenging. And that's where the tools that Gabby's mentioned, such as social media scheduling tools and website builders, they could come in quite helpful. But I would be questioning at that point if you are hugely serious about starting the business and if it's going to be that possible at that point while you're so busy on the boat. I think if you're going to make the decision to start a company, you need to commit to it and really go in the whole hog.
Yes, I might disagree a little bit about that, because I would suggest that you do it as a side business, and then once you get like your first paying client or something, once you get the ball rolling, then you can make the jump. If
like concept.
Yeah, and I think that there's websites like Fiverr, Upwork, where you can outsource the work. So you can pay somebody to do your website that is not expensive. There's also virtual assistants. I know there's a lot of ex-crew that are now doing virtual assistants, so they can build your social media platforms and they can manage your social media platforms. And then you just tell them, what is it that you want to get done this week? Then you can use Buffer or Hootsuite or all of this scheduling for social media. So you sit down on a Sunday or on a day off, and then you put all of your posts, and then it gets posted around the week. But yeah, I think if you're not ready yet, then start building the website, start building your marketing, your branding, your social media platforms on the side, using help and outsourcing it if you don't have time. And then once you get your first income, even if it's just a little bit, I think that you need to be super proud. Even if you get, like your first check of $10, whatever, it's like free meal, so like, okay, you get like free lunch today. Okay, next week you might get free lunch and a couple of drinks today, and then, just keep on building it. And then once you get like your income starting, that that you can quit your job and then move to your parents' garage and start full on, then like do it. But then you already get the ball started, because it takes a lot of time. I mean, from zero to, it takes a lot of time to build it up, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Marcela. I think you said right. And don't forget, when you not have your company yet, think time is a lot of time that you'll use. And think time, you've got plenty of. Even if whilst you're working, it's the best moment to think.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think we're good for the.
Yeah. Some professors in university, they get paid for the think time, so they don't teach all the time. But when they are not teaching, they are thinking, and they are paid for that process, because they are solving problems. You can do your everyday chores, washing dishes, and then you can get a bright idea. So and you also need to rest, because I feel like a lot of people, when they do a startup, they just like they work so hard, and then on their free time they work so hard, and then they don't sleep. And I think like you need this creative sleep, you need to rest. And then when you cannot do it anymore, you need to sleep, you need to rest. And these are the moments where eureka happens, and if your brain is not fully rested, you cannot work properly.
Exactly. Well said. Next slide, Gabby.
Yeah, next slide, please. Cool. Okay, so I just wanted to touch quickly on the investment opportunities. It's not something that everyone goes for, but it's something that's very much out there in the world of startups. So you have what are called angel investors, and they will invest in very early stage companies, maybe just it's usually a couple of thousand. You also have angel syndicates, which are a group of high net worth or wealthy people that have sold businesses, for example, that have an interest in a particular industry or sector. And obviously, because it is high risk, a lot of startups do fail, unfortunately. It's also potential for very high return for those investors. So they are out there, investment opportunities for the right startups, for the right founders, for the concepts that are scalable, and it will help you to grow a lot quicker than you may have been able to organically. But that said, obviously, equity is always king. So you do want to keep hold of your equity for as long as possible. You don't want to be giving away too much of your company, especially in the early stages. So it's really important to bootstrap, to use all the tools that you have available to you to get you to where you need to be. Friends and family are also an option. If they feel confident in your idea and you're happy to sell a small percentage of the company in return for some investment from friends or family, that's also a really good way to accelerate your growth slightly. I'm not sure whether any of the other mentors have anything to say on investing.
Well, if you're looking for an investor, and I've made a few mistakes. So make sure that you always find an investor that can add value. Don't look for money. Money is not money you can make by working hard. If you want to grow, look for someone that's going to add value to the company, but also accepts that it's your company. It's your idea, you run it, and investors should help you. If they want to become your boss, then you better stay on your vessel. You already have one.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, strategic investors, people that can bring experience from a previous life, from a previous business of the industry, that can help you with your network and with your business model. If they've got experience in marketplace, for example, anyone can give you money, especially in the yachting industry. Inevitably, it's an industry with a lot of money floating around. But yeah, it is important to go for someone that is strategic and can add value.
And it has to become your friend. You need to, if it doesn't feel right, don't go for it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. And then just touching on startup accelerators, obviously that's what we are at Yachting Ventures. For those that don't know what a startup accelerator is, it's basically a fixed period of time where founders apply and go through a process of education, mentoring, networking. It's a crash course basically on getting your startup from idea stage to ready to go off and go to market and take you through the next step. So some of the big ones in the US are kind of listed on the right hand side there. So you've got Y Combinator, Techstars, 500 startups. So some of the really big names have been through accelerators like Airbnb, some huge names. So that's what Yachting Ventures is doing. We're industry specific. So we are purely working with the yachting industry. It's the way accelerators are moving. They are going more industry specific rather than taking everyone and anyone. But yeah, it's a really great opportunity to validate your idea, network with other entrepreneurs. Obviously, you have the benefit of the mentors as well. And so yeah, it's worth kind of touching on accelerators generally. And then the final point on that slide is just about the potential in the yachting industry more than anything. So those statistics are taken from a recent report that was put together during COVID. So it's taking into account the impact of COVID, but it is a huge industry. It's relatively untouched by technology. There hasn't been really before an outlet that's supportive of startups, bringing together like-minded people within the industry that are supportive of startups. So it's just important because obviously the yachting industry is very niche, it is very bespoke, but there is a huge value in the industry and it is growing as well. So worth kind of finishing on that point as well.
Good, that was your last slide. Let me get us back to bigger screen so they can see us again. Yeah. Yachting Ventures, Gabby. So why did you come up with that idea, by the way? What drove you?
So I was working in the yachting industry as a broker for a while. I was also sitting on the board for Young Professionals in Yachting, London. So I was meeting all facets of the industry, interacting with professionals working in insurance, design, marketing, management, recruitment, etc. And I just didn't really feel that there was enough support for entrepreneurship at the time. I didn't really feel like there were enough startups going on, or that energy just wasn't really in the space. And I didn't feel that there was necessarily the support for startups. So I actually ended up leaving the yachting industry, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to join a really young, dynamic company that had huge potential for growth. And that's what I did. So I joined a company called Seed Legals based in London. That was a startup helping a startup. So I was just thrown into the startup world, opened my eyes to so much. I was chatting to founders all day, every day, dealing with accelerators, investment rounds. And so Yachting Ventures is basically a product of that kind of previous frustration almost at the lack of innovation, and then the startup experience that I've had most recently, and just combining the two to create an outlet for growth and for all the good things that comes with startups. So job creation, innovation, growth, financial, personal, everything. So that's the reason why it was launched.
How many mentors do you have now?
We have about 15 mentors.
Wow.
And other people that are also interested. So I've been actually shocked by how the industry has been so receptive. And we've got some really cool players that have agreed to be mentors. So obviously we've got the guys here on the webinar, but we have also Timothy Hamilton of Larson America. We've got the director of Fedship America. But it's important to note that all our mentors, as much as they do come from some of them quite big companies in the yachting space, they all have startup experience. So they've all either started their own business previously or have been entrepreneurs. They're not just people that have gone from, worked their way up through the corporate ladder. They are kind of entrepreneurs at heart. And that was really important for us to keep our mentors of a very specific quality and entrepreneurial.
But the three of us are your favorites, right?
Yeah, of course. That's why you would change.
Well, we need to get this clear, right? We need to get this clear.
Yeah.
Good. And listen, I'm just doing a few rounds because I think a lot of people are listening. I don't see a lot of chats coming in, which is normal because I think a lot of people just want to hear and want to digest what the tips are. But just to get a bit of line in there, like if you would have to give them the 3 tips on starting the business, what would be your 3 tips, or 1 or 5? or no, don't do 5 because then you'll never stop talking. Like,
I think that to start, the first thing is be 100% confident in your idea. As Marcela said earlier, you'll find there are people out there who tell you that you're crazy. I'm sure Onno's probably told me I'm crazy on the dock a few times. And you just need to, first thing is really back yourself and back your idea and keep with it, because at the end of the day, there must be something in there that's made you passionate about it. So keep going. I think the second thing is utilize your if you're in yachting in your crew, or you've got a connection to the industry already, and the chances are that you're connected in a second degree to so many interesting and available people that can help you move forward. So definitely, get around the people and ask questions and share ideas. I think the third thing is just one of the best things that you learn as yacht crew is an incredible work ethic. And I think for me, when I started my company, the lessons that you learn on board with discipline and focus and committing something and doing it, they are incredibly transferable behaviors that work so within entrepreneurship. All those long nights on the bridge and night shifts, rinsing the boat and things like that, that's all the stuff that really will help you get through in business. And like they say that people who've been in the military are really desirable within civilian life, you too, as yacht crew who've learned all of these behaviors, you are desirable business people so far.
That's very well said. I would like to add to that, call in all your favors. All your favors. There's a lot of favors. Call in all your favors, and I like to don't stay away from negativity, and also make sure that know your strengths. We're not all natural networkers. I am the most horrible networker. I am shy in public. I am good I'm good in organizing something, but I'm shy in public. So Abby, my business partner, is a star. She shines in public. I need her for me to be the best. So, and it's just the fact that I learned how to behave in public, and I learned how to network, but it's not my natural habitat. We all have our own strengths. Marcela? Yeah. Oh, we just lost your sound, Marcela. Are you back with us?
Sorry, yes.
There you go.
I super agree with discipline. I mean, discipline is doing something even when you don't want to do it. It's just like having that mindset that you have to get it done. Set yourself goals. Every morning you wake up, okay, what do I want to achieve today? What do I want to achieve this week? Do a lot of to-do lists. Be proactive. Don't just expect things to happen. Oh, I told this person about it. He knows about my business. Maybe he will contact me. He will not contact me. He's very busy with a lot of things. You need to remind him. You need to be, proactive. You need to be sociable and keep on learning. Even like Ono says, if you're not a sociable person or whatever, you learn about it. There's amazing books. I can recommend you. One of my favorite books is How to Make Friends and Influence People. It's amazing. So you have to keep on investing on yourself. They say you should invest 3% of your income on investment on yourself. So reading or a webinar or a course, or right now we are so lucky that you can learn online everything. I don't know anything about Photoshop, and digital marketing was a new thing for me, and I just felt like handicapped, so I spent money on learning. So I think discipline, persistence, social networks, just keep on putting your message out there all the time, reminding people, picking up the phone, showing up, doing meetings, just keep on doing it. And like Edward says, just have really that confidence, believe that you are already that amazing, successful company and successful person, and then you start acting, behaving, and you start surrounding yourself with it. You surround yourself with positive people, but also people that can bring value. So of course you have to join Yachting Ventures.
Good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. A
couple of questions I think have come in.
Yes, let's look at that. One thing I would like to add is, guys, under promise, over deliver. Never over promise. Always under promise, over deliver. key. Charlotte is saying, and Jessica first, she's saying like, I think my biggest concern is my idea is not good enough. I think, yeah, that's the insecurity. We all live that nightmare. Any comments?
Yeah, I think that, that's where validation comes back in. So it's really important to go out there to chat to, friends, potential customers, and be quite structured in your approach to that in terms of like getting feedback, like ask the right questions, make sure that, you speak to a good cross section as well, because one customer or one person might not be the right customer, but someone else might be. So yeah, that would be my initial tip on that.
Okay. Any tips from you, Edward, on not being good enough?
I don't know. I think nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you've got an idea and you want to run with it, if you don't put it out there, then you're never going to find out. A lot of people told me my business was very niche, but in my view, niche is just nice in it. So we just did it anyway. And now after 6 years, we are where we are. And I'm very, very glad that I took the plunge in the beginning, because on the face of it now, looking back, probably leaving my incredibly yachting career with a fantastic salary and prospects to sell treadmills was quite a mad plan, but it's really paid off. And I'm really glad I did. And one of the other things I'd say is that starting a business in the yachting industry is such an amazing opportunity, because you get to still go back to all of your favorite Monaco to Palma. You still get to see all of your old friends. And one of the things that's been amazing for me is watching the people who I came up with as a day worker rise up the ranks, are now chief officer captains and things like that, and are now becoming my customers, which is amazing. So there are so many rewards to starting a business in the yachting industry. And even if you think you're not sure about your now, run with it and see how you get on. And worst case scenario, you have to pivot or do something else, or even go back to being crew for a while and reestablish. But that's still amazing. You're very lucky.
Well, the Americans always say, and like the Europeans are a bit more like, oh, you have to do well. The Americans say, if you didn't have any failures, you haven't learned anything. So so learn from failure as well. Just go for it. If it's not good enough, you'll figure out, and then you'll learn from the experience and build something that is good enough. Charlie is saying, any tips for networking? Obviously, the book from Marcela is a book that's a really good book, and Jessica appreciates that as well. But any other tips for networking? I mean, I'll give one from my experience. Like, just do it. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it's the horrible thing to do, is to walk into a crowd and then just go to someone, introduce yourself, and start have a conversation. I mean, and follow up. It's nerve-wracking.
But I think also, networking in a public space is one thing, but then you also have networking through like LinkedIn, and people are so happy to help. I mean, even so I've had a couple of people that have contacted me on LinkedIn and asked like any tips for getting into charter broking, and I'm like more than happy to give them like half an hour of my time and to chat through like my experience and tips. And I think, especially for young people, entrepreneurial people, if you reach out to someone who has kind of been there, done that, they're more than likely, obviously not everyone, but willing to at least kind of have a quick chat on the phone, or maybe introduce you to someone else that might help you. And I do think LinkedIn is really good for that kind of stuff, because you can find pretty much anyone and everyone on there, and everyone's working in a professional capacity, so it's only natural that they will help you out from a professional perspective.
LinkedIn Premium is a good investment. It's a really good investment. Good. I'm afraid that Marcela has probably left us. I think the connection at the hotel wasn't up to speed, and but she gave us some very valuable information, thankfully, before she left. Guys, any questions left? Put them in the chat. I think we had quite a few. If not, then I'm going to wrap it up slowly. And Gabby, it's true that you're offering this course, right? This little introduction to. Do you still have spots available on Yachting Ventures?
Yeah, applications are still open at the moment. So applications close on the 1st of August. So we've got about 2 weeks, and we'll be taking about 10 to 15 startups. So we have had more applications than that, but it's important from a quality perspective that everyone gets, the time and attention that they need. And we might run more cohorts if this one's a success. It's our first one, so it's our beta, if you like. We're validating the idea for sure, but we've got great support and great mentors on board, so I've got no doubt that it's going to be a success. But yeah, applications are absolutely still open. There's an application button on our website, and there's a few questions to answer about your idea and your experience and how you feel we can help you and stuff. And so yeah, we've got 2 weeks left to apply.
Okay, how much does the course cost, Tom asks?
So the course is £200, so it's quite a nominal amount. You get 10 weeks of full support for that. And yeah, so it's £200 for the course.
Good. Okay, Marcela's joined us as a viewer. She says my computer went through a restart and shut down. So she's still there for questions. Hi, Marcela. Thank you for. So if you want to put in anything in the chat about networking, with a big networking question, Marcela, you seem to be the most appropriate person. So if there's, maybe you want to put the title of the book in the chat for us, so that you can so people can order them, so that you can so people can order then read it online or physical. So it's a nominal amount, and you get in touch with I think Edward, Marcela, and myself, we're here to help. We are very passionate about, we don't get paid, do we?
So the mentors, it's all voluntary.
Oh God, okay.
There's a minimum time commitment. We're going to use things like, some of you might be familiar with Slack, which is like a messaging software, which makes it super easy to chat with people about certain topics and with each other. So obviously you've got the mentors, but one of the things that I think is really great about making it and starting to build a community like this is entrepreneurs also learn a lot from each other. So yeah, we've got some amazing mentors and they'll be able to help, but also just interacting with fellow entrepreneurs on the cohort and chatting through common problems. I
think Barry might. I mean, even I, as a mentor, I'm so excited about the opportunity to network with the other mentors. It is an amazing thing you've put together here. And given for myself how it was to join the group, the opportunity that's there for the young entrepreneurs is absolutely enormous to access these people. And I personally am super excited about working with anyone who is currently or stepped off a boat as crew and sharing my experiences with them. And I guess we'll be learning experiences of some of the more senior people in the mentor team together.
Yeah.
Only 6 years in, people who've been doing this for 15 years plus, I think, on the team, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, and you're finally going to join A-Crew, right? Edward?
I'm here in spirit.
I don't know if it's worth mentioning the course you just did very briefly.
Yeah. I actually graduated yesterday, and I missed the final presentation this morning. I was asked to join for slightly more mature businesses at Oxford University's Side Business School, which is sponsored by Goldman Sachs, and it's called the 10,000 Small Businesses. We've just done 6 months of a mini MBA all together in a cohort, and it has been the most unbelievable experience. The people we've met, we've just through it as well. We've taken on a new law firm. We've written a business growth plan for years. We're looking at how we business, to the next level now as a mature company, and it's been eye-opening. So I definitely say that these experiences and these opportunities to learn from other people that have done it before and have had the problems it's invaluable, really invaluable.
Yeah. Well, on that positive note, thank you so much, Edward. Thank you so much, Gabby. Thank you so much, Marcela, as well. I know you can hear me, but unfortunately, you cannot join us at the moment. Thank you for the session. Everybody it's recorded, so we'll put it on YouTube, on our website, and I'm pretty sure that Gabby and Edward and all the mentors will share it in their social channels. So this is going to get enormous reach, which is great for all of us. And thank you. And have a lovely weekend, everybody. I'm closing down in 5, 4, 3,